Dear folks of Baba, it takes a long time for us to realize that we can't do this on our own. We need inside help. I remember Dr. Kenmore, one of Baba's mandali, saying that no matter how you manipulate and rearrange, quote, imperfection, you cannot get, quote, perfection. In Harry's words, perfection was to reach in from the other side and pull you out of imperfection. Baba himself gave the metaphor of a jar with all of us inside. We cannot get out unless someone on the outside removes the lid. All the advances in psychology, medicine, and spiritual practices, although often helpful in our inner journey toward perfection, cannot provide the final step of lifting us out of imperfection. This world of illusion and our false self. We have a profound and incurable nostalgia for this dear old world of ours and our close ones. To sign up as volunteers on Baba's list of billions of, quote, work projects speeds up the strenuous, seemingly interminable process immeasurably. And it is love expressed moment to moment, day by day, year in and year out, that helps Baba to help us out of this rut we got ourselves into eons ago. Love is the great dissolver of the veils that keep us from drowning in Baba's ocean of divine love and light. Hold on a second. I got to move. Oh, yeah. In this next chapter, Darwin Shaw explores some of the fundamental ways that our ego manages to keep us lulled by this enticing dream of illusion. Many of the things we have to give up, which consist primarily of inner attitudes and misconceptions, are what most people would consider a normal life. We are not inclined to give up our normal life until we see that it is preventing us from experiencing a deeper and more fulfilling life that we long for. And this means we have to go against the current of much of our present life. It is really Baba who precipitates this whole reorientation, and he usually sees to it that it goes smoothly at first before we become his work projects in real earnest. Our perpetual reward for this internal work on ourselves is Baba's continuous companionship. In this book, Darwin mostly relies upon our intuitive understanding of what he writes. But having been around him for years, I found that I needed real life examples and clarification, which he graciously provided. The examples you share from your own experience are so helpful for all of us in understanding many of the nuances of the inner life with Baba. Whether you know it or not, sharing your struggles and breakthroughs will really help clarify the subtleties of the spiritual life for others. What are some of the ways that Baba guides you and works with you inwardly? Here is a quote from a poem that Mani, Baba's sister, used to share. Quote, I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, give me a light that I can tread safely into the unknown. And he replied, go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way. So I went forth and finding the hand of God, trod gladly into the night. In his love, Jeff. P.S. I think we left off on page 8.
Okay. Um, Jayseem, if you can bring up page 8, or if anybody knows really where we left off, I get. Uh, we did individual
I don't
flowers.
think it's page 8. I think it's later.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
really?
it's, I had my mark on page 14.
Oh, really? Okay, go to
Yes,
page.
that's right, Bob. Yeah.
Go to page 14. The veil making machine.
The master's constant presence. Is that it, Bob?
Yes, I think let's see, the top of the page is opting out of the duality game.
Right.
Oh, that's
But I
back
think
the other direction.
The other way.
did we read that one?
I
I
have it
have
marked.
I have the master's constant presence.
That's it.
Okay,
That's where we
that's at
need.
the bottom of the page. Okay.
Thanks, Marion. Yeah.
Okay, the master's constant praise. So I guess you got to go a little further, Jayseema, I think. Opting out. The master's constant presence. There it is. Okay.
Paula, do you want to read?
Who was that?
I'd love to.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay. One of the many major inner stances we need to adopt is that of letting love flow while not getting caught up in our current scenario. It is all a passing show. Love is the only real thing that is happening. Our constant becomes the connection with the master at the center of our being. Then, at a lower level, the illusory world is passing by. I feel that we must take efforts to withdraw our attention from all of the illusory happenings more and more so that we can remain steadfast in a constant relationship with the master within. When he was in his physical form, Baba assured us that with his infinite consciousness, he would always be with us wherever we were, whatever we were doing, so that our actions would not have a binding effect on us. Naturally, we are not going to purposely do things that would be wrong. This assurance was to give us an inner sense of detachment from illusion, replacing it with his love and presence. Beloved Baba's living presence is something that we can have with us all the time by thinking of him, focusing on him with love, and trying to love him more and more. Ultimately, we will be doing this anyway. We will be funneled into that position where we will love God completely with all of our heart. And the sooner we get to that point, the sooner we will be free from the unnecessary suffering of the opposites.
Thank you. Anyone have anything to say to that? You know, there's a, a quote from Prophet Muhammad where he says, "Between you and me, there are 49 veils. Between me and you, there are no veils." It's kind of beautiful. Anyone have anything to say to that? How do you folks do? I mean, Darwin was pretty detached, even though he was, we called it, the thing that he signed off on that I shared was a participatory witness. He participated fully in life, but he remained a witness. Nothing stuck. But how do you folks do? How do you do with letting life just go by and observing it? You don't have to answer that right away. Maybe we'll get to that later. Oh,
Yes, Diane and Terry.
it's Terry.
Yes.
I think that I do that pretty well right now. It's pretty astonishing. We were just in Boston with our what?
Not in Boston.
Northampton in Massachusetts, with our child and their spousal unit, and we had this very intense, time with them. And then it was time to leave. And the night before, I had my separation stuff. So when it was time to go, I was really good. I loved being with them and I loved leaving them and being on the plane with Bubba. It was like everywhere I go now, I like it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Bubba's with me. So it's been a very wonderful experience.
Can I
Yeah.
go next?
Sure.
So I've noticed in the past 2 years, going to the airport, I get an anxiety internally, very really, really uptight. And I'm not afraid of flying. That's not what it is. And when we got there and we sailed right through TSA and everything, and we're sitting at the lounge, and we have a connective flight in Charlotte. So it matters that it's on time, even though I gave us almost 2 hours. Well, the flight was delayed, and it got delayed, and it got delayed. And I realized my anxiety is that going on an airplane trip is the ultimate out of control. I am not in control in any way, shape, or form. The moment I go through those doors, security can do something, just all along the way, delays. And I sat there and the anxiety had subsided when I thought about that. And I realized that the ultimate out of control is with Baba. So I said to myself, I'll just trust if Baba wants us to make that flight, he'll make it happen. Now, I had to tell myself that twice on this trip, because coming home, the same thing happened with another connection. And we had to run. We're not youngins. And Terry just had a knee replacement. We are running through the airport. And Terry went flying, face first, belly, like that. And I screamed, no. And all these people gathered around her and she said, I'm okay. And she gets up and starts running. And we got on both planes and we just could not believe. Once we stopped being in control and just did our best, like walk fast, try and make it. If Baba didn't want us to make it, we wouldn't have made it.
I did say his name with every step I took after I fell. He
Beautiful.
reminded me that I had to hold his hand the whole way. And so I did, and it works, Even I can't explain it, but it's letting go. It's just letting go of everything and just being with him and trusting. And if you can do it, it's a wonderful feeling, I must say.
And our whole trip was that we were not in control of anything,
Yeah.
really anything.
The
And
uncontrolled life of Terry and Diane. Hey, Candy. Candy's raising her hand. Yeah.
I know. Hi, Candy.
Hi. Say, what you were saying reminded me of Mani's metaphor for free will about being on the train. So what you said you're out of control, but there's only one thing you do control, which is your attitude. And that's all I had to say.
What's
And they
Monty's
passed.
what's
They
Monty's
passed the
story?
test.
What's Monty's story, Candy?
Mani said, somebody asked Mani if we had free will, and she said, she gave this metaphor of being on a train, and the train itself is where the train is going. The route that the train is taking is that's God's will, and the bag you pack that you have packed on the train is your sanskaras. And so you're not really in control of any of it, but the only thing you are in control of is how you behave on the train.
Yeah.
So that's Mani's metaphor. I love that metaphor. It's very
Yeah.
good. So, anyway.
Yeah. and I think they behaved.
Yeah.
the point. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay, let's go on to the next subchapter or whatever, next section.
Meher Sagar, would you like to read?
Yeah,
Great.
you're reading integrity of purpose.
Yes, thank you.
Integrity of purpose. But Meher Baba does not expect that we are suddenly going to relinquish everything. It is a matter of growth. Baba is not talking about relented discipleship, but 100% dedicated discipleship and complete devotion. What is important is integrity of purpose. This means being true to the ideal one is trying to attain. In other words, not to have integrity of purpose would mean being willing to set aside one's ideal to pursue things having a lesser value. Once we know the ideal that Baba lays out for us, it becomes our ideal and we try to be true to it. We discover where we can be more faithful in following our ideal as Baba shows us how it should be done. This is 100% dedication. This 100% dedication comes about not through simply deciding that tomorrow or every Tuesday we are going to work on getting God realization. It comes about when we have matured in consciousness to such an extent that pursuing our beloved ideal becomes a necessity for us.
Okay, anything to say to that? What do you think Darwin means by the ideal? What would you, I mean, he doesn't really define it there, but what would you feel he means by following your ideal with Baba?
You mean where it says, once we know the ideal that Baba lays out for us, it becomes our ideal?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
I mean, even if we just give a little, okay. We got Candy there again. Good.
To express in the world of forms, truth, love, purity, and beauty.
Exactly.
That's
That's it. Beautiful. We all know that quite well, and that's excellent.
Did you practice that, you guys?
No, no, I couldn't have said it better. Beautiful. Anything else to say to that integrity of purpose? Well, let's go on to the next oh, Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, I mean, you mentioned in your letter that part of the process, part of the effort is kind of sort of giving up the way we live, our old lives, our old life habits, you know, the things we're so used to, the things that we have come to value and have been attached to so much. And I know that that's, you know, that's not an easy thing. It's so hard to observe those things um, without attachment because they're such habitual attachments. And and that, I mean, is that what renunciation is? Is that what we're talking about here? Is renunciation of all of these things that get in the way of love?
I would say so. I mean, other people can answer that, but you're going to wind up observing your life, and in much the way you always have, but you're kind of more off to the side, and not just identified fully with your life. You're able to do it with some detachment, but it's not like you're going to get a whole new life scenario that comes in. I mean, you may change your scenario that, or the drama that you're going to live, but whatever, it's going to be a drama, and the idea is not to get so identified with it that you become your role, you become your job, you become, you know, in that kind of more narrow sense. But anyone wants to speak to that?
Ron?
Yeah, I that's basically the thing that I was interested in talking about. Um, if we have a situation where either yourself or you know somebody else who might uh, feel that they have their weaknesses are causing problems in their relationships. Let's say relationship with a spouse and children, and and so they've got responsibilities, but they don't really they haven't been practicing uh, fulfilling those responsibilities in maybe the best way possible. It's hurting the relationship. So now, if they get to the point where they really want to save the relationship, they feel like I've got to change. But if you think about it, our egos are pretty complicated. So, for instance, the person might feel good about themselves when they feel like playing with their kids and being nice to their wife, doing the dishes instead of having the wife do the dishes, something, something like that. They feel good about themselves, but then uh, when they want to just get off on their own and do something for themselves or buy something for themselves, they don't necessarily consider the spouse and the kids. Then it wears on the relationship. But now, so that's just painting a picture. Now, here's the thing: can that person uh, make the change of their own will? Can they will themselves to overcome these different habits that they have by feeling good about themselves when they think that they've done something worthy, uh, or bad about themselves, or not bad about themselves when they're doing something for their own self-interest? And I'm thinking that really it requires a surrender to God's guidance and love and His grace. Uh, Without that, I don't think one can do it on their own. Um, one could try, but it's so much easier. Uh, Not to say that it's the easiest thing in the world, but it's going to be ultimately easier to go with God in this kind of changeover to something that will be good for everybody concerned.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up and see what people might think about the importance of having God there.
Well,
Go
I
for it,
have
Kenny.
well, I agree with what you said, but there's only one thing you left out, and Baba talks about it a lot, and that is supreme honesty with yourself. So you have to, that requires that you look at your actions and you say, this would have pleased Baba or this would have not pleased Baba. So you have to, you can't fool yourself. You can't. So all the things that you said were required, I agree that they are required, but there's just one other thing, and that is the supreme honesty with yourself. Baba talks about that a lot. And if you have that, then you're almost become kind of an observer of your own actions. And when you're an observer of your own actions, then you have a better chance. It's not easy, but I think you have a better chance of correcting them. That's what I have to say.
Dropping back into Baba, as you go, and not just kind of embrace everything that comes along, but actually sometimes self-interest is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you have to nurture yourself, so just being self-focused isn't necessarily a selfish thing. Sometimes you need a break, you need some recreation, you need a walk in the park, whatever. That might seem like you're leaving your responsibilities, but your own inner vitality requires it. But, you know, I found for myself being wholehearted about what I do, there's a certain detachment in being wholehearted about things. You know, because the thing you're wholehearted about can be removed, but you can move that wholeheartedness to something else. So you go from wholeheartedness to wholeheartedness, and you know you lose things along the way. But somehow I find that trying to protect yourself and not getting snared into things is, you can get trapped if you're trying in a protective, self-protective stance. I don't know, I'm throwing that out.
What does wholeheartedness mean?
You know, you kind of get into things.
Like
You lose your
enthusiasm? Like that?
enthusiasm, yeah. Where you know, you get into a game of basketball. You kind of get into it. You lose yourself in it. And, you know, and you walk away. I mean, as long as you don't feel bad about losing, you can walk away. And you kind of got into it, but when the game is over, you don't have to keep playing basketball. You can move on to something else. But I don't know. I'm kind of more embracing life wholeheartedly as a way of being more detached from it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but okay. Shall we go on to the next? Oh, well, Ronnie, did we answer yours well enough, or we'll see?
Jennifer, you want to read?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Freedom through love and love through freedom. Love is the medium of exchange between the master and the disciple. So we have to develop our love of God incarnate, love of the Christ. As we make efforts to love him, he helps us in his own way, in ways we cannot imagine. His love, a river of truth, power, light, and strength, inundates us. And far more powerful than any illusion, it erodes away our addiction to the creation. We need to develop one pointed focus on him through love and self-surrender. As we love the Master more and more and love God more, a latent sense within us opens up. And though our own intuition and insight, and through our own intuition and insight, we can see that we need not be limited. Meher Baba says that we are not the limited ego, the finite little creature we think we are. In reality, we are the soul. We are the spirit. The soul is always free, always eternal. What Baba is saying is that we are timeless, and we can experience the fact of our being spirit here and now. We do not have to wait until we drop the body. As spirit, we are all above reincarnations and personalities, gains and loss, and good and evil. We are meant to discover this now, to live at the level of the spirit, not at the level of the body, which is merely the storefront for our business, an instrument for being conscious as at the gross level. We are a part of God, every one of us. It is towards this consciousness that the Master is leading us so that we will get free of the wheel of incarnation. The Master wants to share his consciousness with us. That is his gift to us. In 1956, Meher Baba said to us, "Love Baba with all your heart." When we are free from being dominated and buffeted by our samskaras, we can love him with all our heart. So I had an experience today that makes me think of that a little bit. So yesterday I was at the swimming pool at a friend's house, and one of a guy who I've known for a while, he and his wife, his mom is moving towards the end of her life, and she's in a lot of pain. And it all kind of came on quick, and they're trying to, get things organized with pain but trying to help her be present. And so it's been kind of a struggle. And so they live about an hour and a half from me. And this morning, I was trying to help find him someone who does sort of the stuff I do to maybe give a little hand. But something happened inside that I just felt like I was supposed to be the one to show up. So I called him, and I ended up, I drove down to go see her. And, she's not real communicative, but kind of. But so, I'm doing my thing. But the thing that, thinking about this being the storefront, there was something that was so interesting. As I was doing my little light touch thing with her, one eye was kind of open, and the other, she was sort of asleep, but not really. But something about that eye that was a little bit open, I looked at it and it was just like twinkling. And there was something, her face changed just a little bit. And I just felt this feeling of joy come through her. And it felt, it's hard to explain, but it felt kind of separate from the body, from what was happening, with this physical body as she's kind of, loosening the tendrils to, head out. And whenever I do like stuff with hospice, I always think about, as you're working with someone and, bodies change and people have stuff that happens, I always like to think that the spirit, that essence, that I guess the person, the soul behind the storefront, I guess that's like what Jeff calls that, the precious merchandise inside. It just, I always think about that's what's really there. And so just to have this fleeting moment of sort of feel that kind of shine through was really powerful. And I think as, all things happen around us and people and their personalities, what I'm trying to do more and more, and you guys have heard me, in angst of things happening, is that I'm thinking about people that way, about the real spark, the real soul, that real force of creation that's inside of, that's not really the personality and the body. So I got a little glimpse of that today. So.
If you're muted.
Yeah, that's it.
Go ahead.
No, she was done and you were coming.
Yeah, no, I'm done.
I was just saying that, as I've said many times, that Darwin used to say the personality self, who we think we are, is just a storefront for the soul. And we make such a big deal of the window displays, and we change them with the seasons when we could go inside and enjoy the priceless merchandise. But getting some space between our personality self and that inner consciousness is a work of decades, you might say. But if you can as you say, she was probably looking at you from that realm through her storefront. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
And you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And it was just this little tiny flash of light, this little sparkle, little glint in her eye. And it was just so subtle that reading that passage made me think about that. Like, oh yeah, that's what happened. I got to see that little bit of glimpse. And if we kind of think about it that way, that's actually happening. The priceless merchandise is inside all of us. So to kind of, instead of being aggravated by people and personalities, trying to remember that that's what's really the real essence.
Yeah.
We don't always get to see it.
Yeah.
Yes, Ron?
Yeah, I wanted to get back to what Candy said in response, because I came across something recently from a fellow on the internet, a young guy who had some wise things to offer. And one of them really has stuck with me. It keeps coming to mind, which is a listing that he came up with of priorities. In other words, what is more important than something else? So you have these priorities in life. And I like the list that he presented. I'm going to go through them. It's going to sound very simplistic, but it's something that somebody could really delve into and really dive into for how you specifically, as a yourself, could put this into action. So the list starts with what he called the creator, which we would call Baba. That Baba is always first. In fact, I think that was in this discourse we just read, that Baba should always be first, of importance for us to accommodate in whatever we say, think, and do. Second is ourself. We have to be on the lookout for ourselves. That's what Candy was talking about. We have to see what we're up to, what we're doing, be honest with ourselves, have integrity, and control and discipline, which is something that Darwin offered up in this too. So then after that, then you can put your mind to taking care of a spouse, then your children, then the way you earn your living or your livelihood, your work, that, and then lastly, he mentioned, I'm not sure that this would be the last thing, but he mentioned something called ministry. In other words, what you would, how you would interact with people, maybe sharing your thoughts and ideas and your opinions and beliefs and things like that with other people. But if you put one of these priorities ahead of one that should be more the priority, you run into trouble. And so it's quite a job to have that right. But if you have something to do at work, which goes against something that Baba would want, but you think, well, I have to keep my job, so I'm going to do that. And my kids want to eat, so I don't want to get fired, and all these kinds of rationalizations and things come into play. It's not an easy thing, but I believe ultimately you end up where you want to be, pleasing Baba first and foremost, dealing with your own ego and that kind of thing, and then taking care of your responsibilities and not shirking your duties.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we all kind of are working through those things, and if we can keep them in harmony and in the right priority,
Yeah.
we can have a fulfilling life, unlike what we normally get stuck with. No, I'm just joking. Okay, let's go on to the next.
Johannes or Sabine? You guys want to read?
Okay,
Thank you.
where are we?
Our veil making machine.
Next chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our veil making machine. Limitation comes into existence owing to ego-centered desires and self-will. Possessiveness in all its form leads to a life of limitation. Meher Baba. We are always surrounded by a luminous sea, a sea of light, of love, of bliss. The unity underlying all personalities and all things in the universe is God. God is in everything, and everything is God. No matter what we think we are seeking or what our sanskaras, our conditioned impressions, impel us to seek. Oh, let me read that again. No matter what we think we are seeking or what our sanskaras, our conditioned impressions impel us to seek, we are really seeking to merge with this luminous, all-pervading sea of God and to experience eternal, abiding fulfillment. In other words, what we are really seeking is the happiness of union with God.
And go ahead, on to the next section.
Okay. Total loss is gain. Our illusory life is a vacant dream, and Meher Baba has explained that drawing closer to God is the only endeavor that has real value. The general consensus, however, is that happiness lies in fulfilling our desires and in accentuating the self through possessions and achievements, regardless of the fact that this one only creates more desires, more entanglement, and more bondage. On the involuntary path, the spiritual path, we undergo a refining, awakening process in which we discard elements of the self and sublimate all of our energies so that they can be used to fuel our love for God and propel the self toward Him. Therefore, spiritual advancement is not further development of consciousness, a process of acquiring something or an achievement for the ego. Spiritual advancement is emancipation from the bondage of sanskaras. It involves disentangling oneself from the false and, importantly, inviting the real into our being, opening to the truth within. This is in contrast to the psychological work of trying to get rid of our painful sanskaric patterns in order to create a pleasant existence in illusion. In other words, trying perhaps unwittingly to harmonize with our sanskaras. I believe that as spiritual aspirants, our concentration should be on loving God and merging with Him. And the predominant process we are engaged in is not self-realization, but complete self-effacement, which is both total annihilation and complete merging of the personality self into God.
Beautiful. Wow, this stuff is dense,
Yeah.
loaded.
Yes,
Any,
Rich.
let's hear
Yeah.
from Grand Junction here. Yeah.
Here's the western slope of America. Okay. You know, I'm trying to listen carefully because Darwin, there's a depth to this stuff that you can skim over if you're not really listening to each word, each sentence, each thought. But he said it, I think, a couple of paragraphs ago, a chapter ago, where loving Baba is the key to the everyday adventure, you know, of who you are. You know, like Tony's master musician, can play his guitar and sings really well. And I don't understand chords on a guitar. Okay, so I can't do that. But when Tony does that, because he's trying to remember Baba, Baba said that all of us are equidistant from God, from him. So when Tony enters a room, Tony's trying to relate to Baba in everyone while he's singing. And of course, if you're thinking about Baba, this is really proficient because you'll start feeling his love. But the equidistant from everyone, I think that's how we begin to merge with Baba in our daily lives. And it's not, I'm getting older and I'm getting more frail and, you know, blah, 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 reincarnation. But so I'm beginning to see this in a way that makes some sense to me. But I'm beginning to see that Baba is willing to relate to me through other people, but I have to present my faith or my experience or my longing for Baba when I engage with them. And then it becomes Baba's work with all of us. And that's as far as I've gotten. And I'm trying to get further down that road. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me, Darwin would say that what we often do is project a finiteness onto each other instead of projecting their soul, their spirit, their expansiveness. And so we actually are basically telling people you're small, and we lose the soul connection. You know, it's just personality self relating to personality self, and it's just much smaller at that level. But it's interesting how we do that. Okay, she can call on herself.
I'm calling on myself, yeah. So this has caught me. Jennifer's beautiful presentation of what she saw in that beautiful woman. Now, Jennifer had to have a consciousness to pick that up, granted. But it really struck me because, you know, I've done massage my whole life. And I've always thought of Baba out there, Baba, remembering Baba, saying Baba's name. And for some reason, when Jennifer said this experience she had, I went, God, why don't I do that with everyone, you know? And I thought, oh, that's going to be something. And then wise old man Richard says, you know, that he's come to see Baba and everybody. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, this was kind of a theme. So I just wanted to underline it and put gold stars next to it because I think it's kind of a cool thing, you know? And it's changed it from Baba out here all the time and then just see Baba, try to see Baba in each of us, which of course I know Jeff's always said that, but I never could really, you know, kind of connect. But tonight it seems that there's like a thread going through. So thank you guys.
Yeah, ideally, if we can relate to each other essence to essence or soul to soul rather than get tripped up at the personality level. Because the personalities are bound to clash at some point because there's just a bunch of sanskars on both sides. But to get up another level and relate on that. On the love aspect, which is on a different track. Anything else to say to that the veil making machine?
I was just going to say with that, when you think about that, looking at somebody and kind of seeing Baba within them, you know, like Marta was saying, and it doesn't come easy to me all the time for sure. But that, you know, when you've talked, Jeff, about, you know, the heart open and closed and not too near, not too far, I think that when you feel the ability to have that heart open, so you can sort of connect in a different way, then I think that is more when you get that opportunity to have that spark between you. But it doesn't always happen because sometimes personalities are strong and they do attack our sanskaras in different ways, and we just like close up. So, you know, the moments when it does happen, and for me, it certainly isn't all the time, but when it does, it feels magical. But to me, really, in retrospect, it's probably more real than the other things I'm feeling. So just a thought.
You know, Jennifer, I was thinking also the fact that I have it in my mind now as an idea, then maybe it'll become easier. You know, once you have an idea or intention, then Baba opens things up and then you see them differently. And so possibly all of us now have this idea and who knows where it'll go next.
Yeah. And then it's like, I think that's a great point. And then, you know, when you have that idea, and hopefully it'll stick around a while, then you get that opportunity to practice it. You know, I think Baba gives us the opportunity to practice things, you know, practice loving and working together. But yeah, when you get that thought, then you're like, okay, I'm going to try that. So I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Patty.
And yeah.
Hey, Patty.
From Eugene, Oregon. Oh, you're muted, Patty.
There we go.
There you go.
Jay Baba, you know, I think a friend of mine sent me this quote today, and I thought I would read it out. It's from Baba, and I hope it's okay because he's on this call, and I don't know if it's appropriate, but you know, I really believe again that when the personality self is aware enough to know that he or she or they are not the doer. in the actions to have this seeing Baba in everyone and loving and having that love be the freedom that releases his love. So I'd like to read this if you don't mind. It's a quote from Baba. It's a couple paragraphs. Is that okay? And it's Mayor Baba, quote, "The master feeds upon the love of his disciples." Okay, I've never seen this before, so, but I'd had a conversation with this person today, and that was what evolved. The unity and solidarity of the inner plane makes it possible for the master to use his disciple as a medium for his work, even when the disciple is unconscious of serving this larger purpose of the master. This is possible because the disciple, through his love and understanding of the master, as well as his obedience and surrender, establishes a rapport with the master and comes in tune with him. Those who come in direct contact with the master receives his direct help, and those who are closely connected with the disciple receive the master's indirect help. Sharing of spiritual work is by no means one-sided. Even the disciple who merely thinks of the master or meditates upon him have the privilege of sharing the spiritual and universal work in which the master may be engaged at that moment. As he is one with eternity, the master is beyond time and all limitations of time. As he is interested in the spiritual upliftment of humanity, he assumes many of the limitations of time, and his work can be helped by the voluntary cooperation of his disciples. In this way, the master is like a relaying station which receives a song only in order to broadcast it to the world at large. To love the master is to love all, not merely symbolically, but actually for what the master receives on the subtle planes. He spiritualizes and distributes. Thus, he not only strengthens the personal links which the disciples may have with him, but he also gives them the privilege of sharing his divine work. I know that, I mean, to me, this is real complicated. Everything, this whole thing that Darwin is sharing and that we're talking about, how do we bring this into the world? To me, it goes back with really being and surrendering to Baba, loving Baba in whatever capacity the personality self can. And then through that, his work is enhanced, and perhaps then we can love the Baba in everyone through whatever is happening. I mean, it's confusing to me, but
that's one of Darwin's favorite passages. Right?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well,
that you read.
I had never seen it before. So,
Patty, where is it from?
Discourses. Yeah.
It's from the Discourses. It's page 189 to 190, seventh revised edition. And it's, quote, "The place of occultism in spiritual life, part 2, and the relationship with the master in spiritual life."
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know,
I mean, I'm throwing that out there because I was
Yeah.
trying to understand this today. I was talking about how my personality self and how it is in the world, and and my friend was helping me and sent this to me, and so I was very grateful. So
yeah. Thank you. That frames this whole thing.
Well,
yeah,
it seemed to. Yeah.
And this is another experience, is finding Baba in others, or finding the essence or soul of others.
Right.
There's also the experience that everyone is Baba in disguise.
Right.
So I know one time I picked up a Jean Shaw at the airport. She would come down a month early before Darwin to the center. And we were sitting down having lunch, and she was, Bob said she was an angel. And so they have a hard time because they only get one crack at being in the body. So it's very uncomfortable. So she's telling me about all of the, the seat on the airplane and the air conditioning, and all, she's complaining about that. Then we order a meal, and she's, for lunch, and then she doesn't like this and that and all of that. And I'm looking at her, and suddenly I realize, and people used to get a little irritated with her, but I'm looking at her and I see that this is Baba playing the role of this old lady. It was hilarious. Oh my God, Baba is playing playing the role of Jean Shaw. And after that, anything she did never bothered me at all. I didn't care how much she complained or this or that. It was, I mean, so also everybody is Baba in disguise. Sometimes you can see through that lens, and Baba gave me that. So that's anyway. That's another way of tuning in.
Jeff,
Okay,
I
let's
just
go
want
on.
to remind you, it's almost the hour. We'll take Ron.
Okay, yeah. We got Ronnie up there.
Yeah, we have Ron and Tony.
Unmute. This morning, I thought of one of my favorite poetic images. That is one of Jeff's poems. I think of it frequently. It's very clever, and I think it's very accurate. Which is the one about looking through a window. When you look through a window, if the light is not on inside, you can't really see in there unless you get very, very close to the window. Is this ringing a bell, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and so one
It's
of the things,
reflection that for the longest time you see your own reflection, but if
Exactly.
you get up close enough, you can actually see in.
you could pierce through. Yeah,
Yeah.
you pierce through the reflecting part of it, and I think this is what happens if we will just get a little closer. The closer we get to these windows of other people, of other situations, you will see Baba. He will reveal himself, and I think if you show interest, he may even turn the light on inside, and you'll be able to see him a heck of a lot better anyhow. Without it'll just be his grace. But I love that image. So just moving closer to Baba. He wanted us to approach him. He uses that expression in a lot of different sayings that he had. He wants us to come closer to him.
Yeah, I'll
Did
see
you-
if I can find that poem at the end.
Good.
Let's
Okay,
go.
I think I could find it too,
Let's
brother.
go for Tony.
Tony.
Hi, J. Bamba.
Hey.
That last passage, there was a section where he talks about, quotes Baba, about saying that when you remember the master, you have the privilege of being able to participate in whatever work the master is engaged in at that time. And in particular, it's always been meaningful to me, but particularly resonated tonight in terms of my stepdaughter, Elena, who is low functioning autistic. She needs help with everything physically, but her connection with Baba has always been palpable, and her life experience is mostly internal. And one thing is, for instance, she's often typically does not sleep through the night. She'll wake up in the night, and we've been told that she meets with spiritual workers who come to her for directions and guidance, but she doesn't sleep like other people. However, I guess it was last night, whenever the bunker busting bombing was going on, late afternoon, Elena suddenly just was knocked out. She was sitting on the sofa. She could not open her eyes. It's been since then. She slept almost entirely through the day. Uh, we forced her to get up to eat something, and then she went back to bed early, and she's been just out. And what we have felt, and we've said it to each other because we both were aware of it, that she's doing work for Baba having to do with what's going on right now in Iran. And it's again it's a palpable thing. We don't know what it is, but it is so absorbing that she can't maintain any external consciousness. You know, um, usually whatever I do feel she's connected with Baba work in that way by being so inwardly connected. But this is beyond the pale, which of course makes us clear to us that this is really big. What's happening right now? Uh, but
Yeah.
that passage really spoke to me.
Yeah, and yeah, and other people had very disturbing days in advance, not knowing what was the source of it, you know, and that could very well be.
That's our
Hey.
attunement. Yeah,
Yeah.
felt that.
I want to say one quick thing. It was so today I listened to the UN. They were having that special council meeting about what happened with the bombing. And I thought about Tony and about all the work that you had done at the UN. And it gave me such a different perspective of listening to this council talk about, their different countries' interest in what had happened. And I don't know. So Tony, I just thought of you, and just so it's interesting what you talk about your stepdaughter and just how powerful, Baba has us all connected into so much of the work of what's happening right now. So anyway, that's really interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to ask Bob. Bob had a very transcendent experience, and he captured it in poetry. It's on page 49, Swift Kick. We'll see if he can. He had a very transcendent experience of that getting completely free.
Okay. Swift kick. In the orange circle of sweet sour sauce, this bright yellow yolk appears festive, but too generous a dollop on the egg roll claws through sinuses to explode like napalm behind the eyes until, sneezing, crying, gasping for breath, all consciousness goes. No worry, no want, no future or past. Nothing in the universe matters. For this fiery fraction of a second, free. Chicken soup for the soul? Nice enough in its way. But what the soul really wants may be more along the lines of too much Chinese mustard.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Oh my God. I can taste it in my mouth almost. That's great.
Hey, well, let's have a few moments of silence, and then mark where we left off. We kind of goofed up. So the last one was, well, I can't even remember where
No,
we
we
left
didn't
off.
goof up. Bob knew where we were.
Yeah,
We're at cloudy weather within. On
All we
page
need is one
18.
person to track it. So
yeah.
it's
Cloudy weather within is a good metaphor. Okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Marta, have you got any of those little poems handy?
I have a poem, not one of those, but I have one that I love,
Okay.
a Rumi poem. One day your heart will take you to your lover. One day your soul will carry you to the beloved. Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. One day your heart will take you to your lover. One day your soul will carry you to the beloved. Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure.
Beautiful. Hey, there's Doug Ross is there, and he has put all of effort and grace on audio.
Oh.
Doug, can you type that in at all into the chat, or is it a little too much?
I'm sorry, I had to put my plate down. I was eating dinner.
Oh.
How quickly can I put it in there? I don't think I can quickly do it. Yeah, I can send it to you, and you can. Put it in.
Could Jay send it around, Jeff?
Say that
in
again.
The email. Could Jay send it around as an attachment to the email? Then we all have it.
Yeah.
Because I find it hard to sort of copy something from the chat.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to you in the next email.
Yeah,
be lovely.
It's sort of a beta version, but it really beats everything else when you're commuting to work. I tell you.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Okay, well, now we have to have, before we can go, we have to get Nasreen to allow us to, the bouncer has to come in and disperse the bar.
Oh my God. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Jeff.
Baba.
Okay.
Jai Baba.
Have a good week.
Let's see. Yeah. I mean, any questions or anything that?
Yeah. What time does the movie start? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The movie has been going on since the beginning of time. Yeah.
How can I get on your email list, Jeff?
What's that?
How can I get on your email list?
Send a check and money order to.
No, Jay Sema, who's there, he'll put his email address there. He's the guy that can get anybody on
Okay,
the emails.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. He'll put, Jay Sema, if you can put that in the chat.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, good. There it is. Yeah. So he's anybody that wants to. I don't know if Candy, if you get the emails, but
I don't.
So, yeah, see if Jay Sema has put his email there on in the chat. So you just kind of send an email to him, and then you can get these ridiculous emails that come out.
Oh, no, I think the emails should be compiled because they're like their own effort in grace. I reread them. They're great.
And actually, it shouldn't just be left to effort and grace emails, because when he does topic emails,
yes, those two, absolutely.
I came up with this line the other day. The ego in us hates love. It just doesn't, the ego doesn't like love because every time love keeps taking away its control and power that it's had since the beginning of time.
Well, Jeff,
Anyway.
you have a number of really great metaphors and analogies, like your plate after plate.
Yeah.
You know, posterity might want to hear some of that stuff, but plate after plate, looking in the window. You've got so many of them, I can't keep track.
Yeah.
Jefferson, Wolverton, top hits.
Yeah. You know, another thing that when I was writing this last thing, I was so aware of nostalgia. I mean, one of the things that keeps us bound to creation is I became aware of, God, an incredible amount of nostalgia. I mean, not just, you know, of the past, but this, I think I wrote this kind of dear old lovable world of ours and all the people in it. I mean, do we have to give this up? Do we have to let go of all of that? It's an incredible thing if suddenly, I know I was walking by the far cabin one time back in the 70s, and Baba flashed this to me. If I would be willing to live on the dark side of the moon. And oh, I recoiled. Oh, no way. I mean, I just imagine living on the dark side of the moon and just craters and nobody's around. I realized, you know, I was quite young. Boy, I just can't do that, Baba. You know, but what I mean is it's kind of letting go of everything. I mean, now I know Baba and Mara would be there on the dark side of the moon. But at that time in my life, what if they didn't show up? Boy, that would be like whirling around in space. Yeah, go ahead, Candy. Yeah.
You know, I thought the same thing, Jeff. I thought the
Really?
same thing. I thought it's a very similar thing. Yeah. Am I going to have to give up all? I thought about all the sweet things of this earthly world of Maya. I thought of the sweet things and nostalgia. And I even asked myself, I said, if we have nostalgia about the mandali at Narabad and all that, is that bad too? Is that something I have to give up also?
I think, well, they have relative values. That's why until you have to give them up.
Relative value, okay.
But I've mentioned this on the late night chat before that about 2 weeks after I got into Baba and you know, hook, line, and sinker, but I woke up one morning and the world was all just an illusion, a dream, you know, just a fake. And it was awful. I felt horrible. I was in New York City at the time. I walked around and for 3 days and in the worst state. And on the third day I woke up and Baba flashed this to me. Even though it's all an illusion, it's always worthy of your most loving attention.
Wow.
And that helped me. I mean, now my heart could participate, but prior to that, how can you give your heart to something that's just a dream, that's a fake? So Baba himself put his love into this world of illusion. So love makes it real. Love makes it meaningful. That's how he got me off the hook, but that was a horrible experience for 3 days. But there is that nostalgia. I'm just curious. I mean, to ponder that. I mean, my God. I mean, and a lot of the sadness that we're experiencing as this, even the world and our, you know, this country. I mean, Baba people are really feeling. I mean, where was the wholesomeness? What was the life we had? What happened to it? So, it's very powerful.
You know, what reminds me of, Jeff, is the story about Hafiz and how he was madly in love with this woman to the extent that he sat in the circle for 40 days or something. And then the Gabriel, the archangel, comes to him, and he basically said, he basically wanted to forget about the woman because the Gabriel was so much more beautiful than the woman.
Yeah.
And so I think it works that way. I think when we're ready, Baba provides us something which strips away our attachment to other things.
Yeah.
It isn't an effort. We don't have to like give them away or anything like that. We just have to be open to what he's doing, which is stripping away the veils in front of us and revealing something even better.
Yeah.
Could be
You know,
like,
it's amazing. It's amazing that Hafiz went through the entire spiritual path. Baba says in his poetry are all 49 all 49 stages to realization, trying to win the hand of this woman. Can you imagine that he made it all the way through the entire spiritual path, trying to win the hand of a woman? You know, I mean, it's so you can't just say you have to unplug and just go into a state of meditation and absorption and leave everything behind. So, how it's going to be for each of us is going to be unique. Yeah.
Yeah, Ron, are you saying that it gets replaced with something much better? That so when we turn away from Maya, that it gets replaced with something much better that we're given, so it's not so hard. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think of it as turning away. You can, if you're ready, you
Or
can
giving up.
Well, I think being open to Baba in the prayer that I have when I do the prayers is, beloved Baba, be stripping away all the veils of ignorance that prevent my seeing you as you really are, and in your time and in your way. So I give him the timing and I give him however he's going to do it. He's stripping away these veils of ignorance and revealing himself to me. I don't know when it's going to be finished, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I'll be patient.
Because I feel like there must be there's a desert period, where a desert period where you don't get anything. You're disgusted with Maya and you don't get God either. So I feel like that. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's just.
But that I like the idea that you keep getting replaced. I mean, I think of my past. I'm getting replaced with better stuff today than the stuff that I had back in my college days or 20 or 30 or 50 years ago. It keeps getting better. So I'm letting go of my past because things are showing up in the present that are better than what was back there. Richer, deeper, more refined, whatever. Yeah. Robert.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the dedication in God Speaks that it's dedicated to the illusion that sustains reality. So, illusion, we need illusion. We need illusion for reality. We need reality for the illusion.
Yeah. Very, enigmatic.
Right.
Anyway, I guess I got to go close the front gate of the center. But you guys have a nice week and stay out of trouble.
Bye, everyone.
And keep Baba there.
Hey, Baba. Hey, Baba.
TJ.
Hey, Baba.
Thank you, Jay Baba. Jay Baba. Jay Baba.
Hey, Dinku. Yeah, good. I saw
Jay Baba. Jay Baba.
Christina, I don't know. Okay.
Just can't say goodbye properly.
Great Baba picture, Richie. Wow.
Oh, yeah, he's very regal there, huh? Very regal.
Beautiful.
There was one like that in the society, but not colorized like that. It's just
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.